And so let's talk about that. 2019, you launch Your Insurance Attorney. That's a bit different because most of the firms, it's like five of the partners' names strung together. It's hard to remember from a branding perspective. In those early days, walk me through kind of the vision you had for Your Insurance Attorney.
So let's talk about that. So when I started my firm in '08-ish, the firm was ultimately named Marin, El Hayek, Lopez, and Martinez. First of all, good luck pronouncing El Hayek when you see it on paper. Like, no one ever gets it. And good luck trying to spell it or Google it or figure it out. But, I realized when I was marketing and trying to bring in work that Marin, El Hayek, Lopez, Martinez wasn't like a great brand name. I felt like we were getting lost in the shuffle. So what I ended up doing as the firm progressed and my practice grew was I started branding myself as Your Insurance Attorney, Anthony Lopez. And that was kind of how I was marketing myself to bring in cases. And then, fast forward 2018, 19, I ultimately started a law firm and I called it Your Insurance Attorney, which, it's not Your Insurance Attorney, Anthony Lopez, it's Your Insurance Attorney. And I did that on purpose because I really wanted to create a brand. And when we were coming up with the concept, I sat in my conference room with my team and I said, look, I want you to think Nike. Like, I want the swoosh, but I want it for a law firm. So we came up with 1,000 different ideas and a lot of conversations and ultimately landed on, like, let's just call it Your Insurance Attorney. Kind of covers everything we were doing. And that was the beginning of that. We came up with a logo. Again, the idea was we didn't want the firm to necessarily be associated with any one person. We wanted it to be more of a concept.
Yeah. And it is distinctive, right? It stands out. It's different. It's clean. It's sharp. I like that it's descriptive in the name. Like sometimes, standalone name, you don't really know. So there's an association there. So I think it's super smart. And I definitely want to lean more into the marketing side. Before we get there, I kind of want to talk, a little bit different, as you scale, right? You've got, a couple hundred employees. I'm not sure your exact size.
275, trust me. I look at the overhead every day.
Yeah, your biggest expense walks on 2 feet, right? The labor for the most part. One of the things that caught my attention was like I hear these different trains of thought, like go with the experience, someone that's got all the reps and I believe in an interview you said you prefer fresh law students, and graduates over experienced insurance defense attorneys. And it's not to say like talent is talent, right? I know you're going to go pick, the A+, it doesn't matter. But, is it because it's your way of training them or it's an energy thing? Like talk to me about the green attorneys and that approach.
Yeah. So, I've hired obviously senior lawyers, trial counsel guys that can just go in and try cases and then lawyers that come from other law firms, that are 5 to 10 years out that have their own experience. But I found that the way I like to do it best is I like to get kids that are in law school that summer here for 2 summers that take the bar, pass, and then come here to work as baby lawyers. I find that those lawyers end up lasting the longest in the firm. Because it allows us not only to really get to know each other, but they get to understand the firm culture, which is very important to me, how we approach cases philosophically from the standpoint of making sure that the client's outcome is more important than the attorney's fee, things of that nature that not every law firm necessarily preaches and lives by. One of the big things that was always important to me and with the young lawyers was I would always tell them, I'm like, number one, don't chase money. Because if you're chasing money, this is not the right firm for you. And number two, the fee can never be more than what the client's getting. So, a lot of firms didn't really run like that. But it was important for me because it gave us the opportunity to, number one, weed out candidates that we had already spent a couple summers with that we really didn't think were going to fit within the firm culture. And then really hone in on the lawyers that we liked, that we thought would work long term. And I have lawyers here that have literally worked with me through, all of my iterations of law firms. I mean, I've got a guy here that's been with me literally 20 years. I hired him as a baby lawyer. He summered with me, and he's one of my partners to this day. And most of my young lawyers that we brought up that way are still here. The turnover I find is in the lawyers that come from other firms that have already, I don't want to say necessarily developed bad habits, but developed habits that are different than the ones that we like and appreciate.
I think that's super strong. That gives you a unique advantage because everyone else is trying to get talent from, they're poaching other attorneys. They're going to the recruiters looking, with the resumes built out. And you're like, no, I'm looking for the culture fits and individuals that I can work with and shape. And I think that's unique. And I think it's a huge
strength. I mean, it takes more time to develop the talent, right? It's not like instantaneous. I hire the guy and he's automatically an income producing lawyer for me. But I think from a long-term perspective, it ends up saving me money and making us more money as a law firm when we're able to cultivate our own talent.